Hi guys, my name is Gamer. Welcome back to the channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more Wwe 2K18 content, and also news, reviews and rumours when it's coming out. I'm looking forward to bringing this all to you today. So at the moment I'm going to take you through another part 2 of what you would do to improve Wwe 2K18 My Career mode. Let's get into it, shall we? My career at the moment can get really repetitive and boring, but for me, there's something that really interests me about wrestling itself, and that is actually the business behind the show. At the moment you play as a character in WWE, but you're still portraying that on-camera kind of character, which although is incredibly fun and is something that we all really would like to do, I'd like to get down to the nitty-gritty bits. I would like to be able to do things like negotiate contracts. And on that basis, if we're going to start in places like NXT, I'd like to be paid like I would be in NXT, which more than likely would be on a per appearance basis. So if I had to do dark shows, then that would be a really interesting concept for them to put into the game. So if I start off working dark shows not actually being on TV at all to start off with, I think that would be really interesting. Not only that, I'd then work my way up onto NXT TV, and as your stats would be incredibly low, you'd then have to put in another system. And that system would be a match rating system that's actually worthy and they could build upon from what it is currently. So at the moment it's pretty basic. Do some moves, as long as they're moves and they're not repeated, you'll get a decent amount of star rating, and that will go towards how much you get paid. For this, I'd like it to be broken down to 2 separate areas. So experience and also money. So you get paid per appearance for money, and you get paid in experience for the matches that you actually participate in. You would actually get paid more if you were on NXT itself, rather than being an NXT dark match where it's not on TV. So you would get paid more for that being on TV, and then you would get paid less for the dark match. But not only that, you would then be able to actually go out and spend that money on things like training, and spend the experience on actually being able to evolve certain stats. With this in mind, you'd actually be able to grow your character, which makes a lot more sense. Especially from a physical standpoint, because then you wouldn't just be playing an on-character persona for the WWE, you'd actually be living the life of a superstar in WWE, behind the scenes, just like they do. Does that mean we could also include backstage politics? That would be another brilliant inclusion into it. Maybe you actually don't get on with some of the other superstars on the roster. Maybe you do. It's a good way for you to form alliances and tag teams rather than just base it on on-air relationships. I like the idea of the whole backstage politics thing. I think it brings a new dynamic to being a superstar in WWE in the My Career section, so I would love to see this in the game. I'd love to see some sort of inclusion as to actually have that in and live a realistic life with it. It also means that you'd have to bring in other areas as well. Say for instance at the moment you are currently able to select your own gimmick for your superstar. This means that you would no longer be able to do that to begin with, until you negotiate a contract that has a creative control clause in it. This, a lot of people may probably not like this, but let's be honest, if you're going to be a WWE superstar in real life, you aren't going to be able to come in and just do what you want. It doesn't work like that. 9 times out of 10, you're given a gimmick and you are basically told to make it work. That's just how it is, because that's how creative works in real life, because that's why they get it wrong quite a few times and make stupid decisions like calling a pay-per-view Great Balls of Fire. Really? Really? How did that conversation even come about? I mean, I'm going to save that rant for another video. I'm not even going there. My Career could also serve as a decent standing point, so when you do move to NXT and you get put on either SmackDown or Raw, then you'd be looking to build up the relationships. Rather than deciding where you want to go, you'd then be deciding, well, is this the right place for me? At this point that means that you could think about becoming a free agent, which would be even better because, let's face it, you don't want to spend all of your time just in one brand, so if you do decide to quit, you could do the whole Heath Slater thing and become the hottest free agent on SmackDown and Raw. Which would be interesting for you, because then that depends on whether you'd like to get snapped up or not. It essentially makes it more like the professional wrestling version of FIFA Player Career. So although if you don't do very well and you're not very good at your job, you can get fired, it doesn't mean that you can't be picked up by the other brand. Of course, they still have to add in that section where you are playing still a WWE superstar. So even though you may be performing very well backstage with the politics, and you may be making friends, you may not be performing very well on WWE TV, which means that you may get let go from the brand. Doesn't mean you actually get let go from WWE though. That means that you would then be a free agent, being able to be picked up by either the other brand, whether you were on SmackDown and then could possibly go to Raw, or you were on Raw and could possibly go to SmackDown, or alternatively going back down to NXT to work on your gimmick and work on your stats again. Maybe you've come up far too soon and you need to up your experience level and up your training again, once again, by earning TV time. I think the reason that I like this is because I'm a big fan of what goes on behind the curtain. There's so many fascinating stories about what goes on there, and I think some of it can be incorporated. Thing that you could look at doing is also trying to get your gimmick over. So although you would start off as a new gimmick, say for instance, you would then have to try and win the crowd over. Now at the moment they've already got a system in place, which basically means that if you pull off certain moves, then it has an excitement meter for you, which is great, that's fantastic, but also you need to win the fans over. If you're going to have a gimmick out there that actually allows you to work and do really, really well with it, you're going to need to be exciting and need to get that gimmick over, because otherwise it's pointless. You could have a gimmick where you're a dancing guy, and if they give you that gimmick, that would be absolutely terrible, and I'm sorry if I ever suggested it to go in my career. I apologise in advance right now. But if you do get that gimmick, then you're going to have to make the best of it work. Just remember what Dusty Rhodes said. He could even make polka dots work, and you know what? The man did. He was a legend. Nobody can ever deny that. So it's up to you in that instance to try and get that gimmick over. And trying to get yourself over with the crowd is hard enough already. Seeing how they respond to you, whether you're a heel or a face, is completely different. If you aren't exciting, or if you're just a plain out brawler, then it really does depend, doesn't it? Because let's face it, there are a lot of people where the crowd actually does cheer for them, even though they're a heel. So perhaps what you're doing isn't dastardly enough, maybe? There's also that dynamic of it. I'd like to see in my career the ability for you to either be a heel who is cheered, or a heel who is booed, but also a face who is cheered, or a face who is booed. And the other thing that I'd like to bring back is the tweener status. I mean, seriously, there are people there who are tweeners, like who are neither bad guy nor good guy. They just do things, and nobody can stop them from doing that. Why isn't this a thing already? This was back in the games like years and years and years ago. Guys, seriously, it needs to be done. Also, we need more gimmick matches back in my career. Seriously, the gimmick matches in my career were very few and far between to finish off a rivalry. 9 times out of 10, it would just be a straight one-on-one match, which was just boring to play. That needs to be changed. We need to have gimmick matches finishing it off. The other thing I'd like for them to include in there is injuries. So a lot of the time now WWE superstars do get injured, so if you suffer too much damage during your time in my career mode, you should have to spend time out, which means that you would fast forward right through to a time when you are actually no longer injured again. And if that's the case, maybe then you could come back during the Royal Rumble. Maybe they'll hold you back as a storyline. That would be down to the people who would be in charge. So whether that would be the commissioner or the GM of whichever brand you are working for, that would be down to them as to when to bring you back at the most opportune time. Which means that you wouldn't dictate what title you were going for, but it would be based on your popularity, and it would also be based on the fact that you would be exciting and you're a crowd pleaser. So this is something that I would like to see put in the game again as well. It would just move the game to a more of a realistic simulation rather than just playing the face of WWE, the superstars, what they do. I would like to be able to play it as a proper simulation. So essentially, you are actually living the life of a WWE superstar, not just playing what they are on TV. Like I said, this is just purely my opinion. I mean, some people are not going to like it, and I can understand that, but if you are interested in the business and what goes on behind the curtain, then this might be for you. It could be a really interesting take on what could be happening with my career mode. But it's not going to happen with my career mode. They're going to keep it as what goes on TV, and they're going to give you that ultimate control, because let's face it, it's going to be boring without it. That's been my other changes that I'd like to see in my career mode. I hope you liked it. If you did, leave a comment down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. My name is Viking Size Gamer, and thank you for watching.